How my life changed and became meaningful. Foreword. It was the beginning of the year 1994, and I was going through a job interview at Valencia Community College, VCC, in Orlando, Florida, USA. The position I was applying for was to become a supervisor of the computer lab they had in the downtown campus of the college. I had recently graduated 1 year before from the nation's third largest university, University of Central Florida, UCF, where I got a bachelor's degree in computer science. On top of that, I also had close to a year experience in the field of computers and, at that time, I was looking for another job. My last employment prior to this new future position consisted of a grant that had been given to my former employer a few months before by the local government. It had to do with implementing a new multimedia interactive project which provided very useful information in terms of the different programs offered, scholarships, the necessary admission requirements, and several other topics about two very prestigious universities in Orlando. Interestingly, these two universities were Valencia Community College, the one where I was applying to get a job, and the University of Central Florida, from where I had just graduated shortly before the interview. At that precise moment, I was without a proper job, and I use the word proper because I was only teaching some private Spanish classes here and there. These, however, despite not providing me with too much income, at least were better than having nothing to do and kept me a little busy. Moreover, teaching somehow made me feel valuable while I looked for something better and related to both my university degree and studies. Right after the interview started, the lady who was facing me asked me something that I had never been asked before in any other interview. In fact, even today, as I write this book, after so many years have gone by, and after having gone through so many other interviews in all kinds of companies, nobody has ever asked me again that same query. By the way, I think it is worth mentioning the fact that my interviewer was a lady on her late 30s or early 40s, was smartly dressed, had a very pleasant manner, had quite a nice smile, and was very well educated. Without a doubt, all those factors contributed to making me feel fairly comfortable from the very beginning of the conversation and during the 30 minutes or so that the whole process lasted. What moves you in this life? In other words, what motivates you? He asked me those two questions right after the formal introductions and a few other trivial inquiries. Immediately, it dawned on me that I didn't have to think twice for the answer. Therefore, I looked at her straight in the eye, and even though I knew I should have said what I was about to utter, my words were the following. I know we're not supposed to talk about religion in a job interview, but God does. That is, it is the Lord, the one who gives me the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the everyday protection in my life. He is thus my source of motivation and inspiration to go on daily. Once those words were mentioned, I just waited expectantly, to find out what her reaction would be. Still, she just smiled at me, wrote something down on her notepad, and we continued with our interview for a few more minutes in a very normal and friendly mood. A couple of days later, I was notified that I had been given and selected among all the other different applicants and that the job was for me indeed. I actually was due to start at once. Nevertheless, though, I ended up working there just for a short period of time due to my working authorization in the country. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have a green card, permission to work for people from other countries who are US residents but not citizens. And my working permit to work legally had expired just about 1 month before, more precisely on 31st December 1993. Yet, I was hoping my new employer would help me to get the necessary legal papers and permissions so that I could work with them lawfully. But nonetheless, and much to my disappointment, it didn't happen as I expected. On the other hand, what I didn't know was that God had something in store much better for me, and my disappointment would only be temporary. In any case, if I were asked the same question again today, without any hesitation or a single doubt in my mind, the answer would still be exactly the same. God keeps on being the source of strength and inspiration in my life. Do I sound religious, fanatic, or perhaps too conservative? For some people, I might. How could I answer like that in such an important job interview? Why God was, and still is, the central and most enthusiastic part of my life? Well, as the saying goes, there is always a reason for the season. Furthermore, many things in life don't just necessarily happen by chance, but rather with a specific purpose. It all started on 24th June 1986. That day marked the beginning of a new and wonderful life for me, which is still affecting me up to this very day, and will continue doing so for the rest of my existence in this world until God calls me home. To be continued.